I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Liv. I'm back at it again with another video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and let's get to this video. So yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Tomorrow is the inauguration. So every time this year comes, I feel like it's kind of a good reflection to see where we are at, where we are with our country and everything. I know that people stormed the Capitol building last week, and I said before, there's not really much I have to say on that. I have a lot of frustrations with a lot of things, as a lot of other people do and a lot of people have. Right now, as a Christian, we really shouldn't be surprised with everything that's been going on. I've been doing a Bible shred with a bunch of my other friends, and it's just you see, we were talking about this the other day, you just see the same cycles happening over and over. But the difference is we are just at a time point where we should be better, but we're not. And I think it just stems from so many things. And one of the things MLK talked about was how, their fight for racial equality, it was just the beginning. It's not until people are actually treated equal that I think we can finally pick our heads up and be okay, maybe things are okay. But the problem is that we aren't perfect, and you have there's extremists on both sides of the spectrum, okay? You have extremists from certain organizations that are going and looting and burning down cities. And you have other organizations that are lynching people, shooting unarmed people, racially targeting and profile people. And I just feel what I see more and more on the media is it's either you are fully on this side or you are fully on this side. And as someone who is a liberal but also a Christian, I just wanted to come here and just give some of my reflections on racial injustice and inequality, because I just feel as a Christian we are just called to do better, and fighting fire with fire just only creates more fire. And I just don't really see many people actually willing to take the time and listen to what their peers are saying, and listen, just either having empathy for what their peers are saying, with people who have been traumatized, who have been hurting for a very, very, very long time. And they just don't know what else to do but to cry out. You have another group of people who don't believe politicians, who don't trust people in our government, and they themselves are crying out because they feel their voice as a citizen isn't being heard. We have two completely different groups of people, two completely different problems, both with hurt, pain, a lot of feelings. I feel the one thing about this election compared to many other elections is I have never seen one group either so sorrowful or one group so happy because this person got elected president and like this person didn't. No president is perfect, but at the end of the day, they are the president of the United States, and whether you like it or not, listen, I know some people are like, well, you don't have to respect them. I just think that in life, whether you like someone or not, there is a certain way for people to be treated and for a certain way for people not to be treated. And I just don't think that, especially people from my party, have been treating the president and a lot of the other people as well. And I think what it does is it prevents a lot of like actual stories that need to be posted and the actual news that needs to be posted prevented, because you're just spending all your time just like going after one person. I think that this year in our country, or 2020, was a huge uncovering and making our country look at our actual problems and facing them head on and realizing, okay, like we need to be better about how we are handling things. We need to be better about systems and policies that we are putting in place. But I will say, as someone who has worked, as someone who has physically worked this whole year, I have had to deal with literally everything from the protests and the vandalism of the protests, to people passing away from COVID, to like the natural disasters, to seeing crime rates and everything increase and seeing how that affects like my job and everything. Like I am someone who has literally had to witness, see, and experience it all. I just haven't been sitting on my couch like eating Oreos, not like doing Zoom calls. Like I have physically had to work during this whole year, and I have seen the trauma, witness, and experience on all sides of the spectrum. I mainly wanted to come in here to talk about like the fact that just Christians, like we need to do better. We need to do better about listening to other people, whether they have the same political views you do or do not. The other flip side to this too is of being in a society that is anti-religion and anti-God, is that the church, which is supposed to be a place for broken people, for people to be healed, for people to go if they need things, for people to be fed when they're hungry, is now been turned into like some social construct that we only go to church to make ourselves feel better and to make me feel better as a human, and then don't go about making change, don't go about actually investing into church, don't go about investing into churches that are actually going to be resources to feed and help the community. Separation of church and state like needs to be separated, because again, like the thing of the separation of church and state is like maybe that before, like when, you know, our country had values and the country, everyone like went to church, maybe it was a different story, but now it's just not the case. We are a part of a country that has many different religions, and I just think that the church has done a really bad job about helping people who are in need and just turning it into like these celebrity like churches that don't put their money where their mouth is. And listen, like I've been going to church pretty much my whole life. I've been a part of churches that have thousands of people to churches that have 20 people. And it's just like, I think what's happening with everything this year too, and like and the country is like, I don't want to say, no one in America is like getting oppressed in church, but I think that we've made church so much more about a physical place than we have been about like being the church, being the people, and actually being the hands of the feet of the church, which means you listen to your friend who's hurt, you feed the person who's homeless and hungry, you help the drug addict, you help provide and help people who find jobs, who need jobs. You are a safe haven for those who are being abused. And the church just right now, I feel like, needs to be better about stepping up. And I'm just so sick and tired of like people who want to use their political views to oppress other people. And it's like, well, take a look at yourself and ask yourself, is my church being the hands and feet? And if they aren't, then there's another discussion that like needs to be had. One of our, like, my family friends, he came and he said, he's like, you know what, church was never about God healing sick people. It was about helping bring back dead people. It was help making dead people alive. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing, because I feel like right now there's gonna be another like awakening in the country, but I just feel like right now we are just a country of dead people who just sit on our phones, who attack people, who don't listen to each other, and literally don't do anything that the gospel has called us to do. And I have friends who are very conservative, and I have friends who are very much like liberal and on the Democratic side. And I will say this, like, it's important to have people who do not associate, it's important to be friends with people who do not associate with like your political party, because at the end of the day, like, our country is never going to get better if we're just attacking each other. Like, we need to have discussions and ask like, hey, why do you believe this? Why do you believe this? And I just like was thinking of, I don't know, I didn't know how I was gonna make the video on like with MLK and the inauguration, because you know I got to see Obama like get inaugurated the second time. It was amazing. I was working, so I didn't watch Trump's inauguration. I'm gonna be working tomorrow, so we'll see how everything goes tomorrow. But I just think that if there's anything that the church needs to do, I feel like right now we are just at a time and we are in a period where we just need to set our differences aside, focus on the main goal, which is loving people and being a neighbor, and to just stop trying to hide between our religious titles, because guess what? You gotta practice what you preach, and people are paying attention to you, and they're paying attention how you act, and they're paying attention what you say. Be the hands and feet of the church. Love people. Meet people where you're at. Listen to your neighbors. Have the tough conversations with your friends. Ask them about their experiences, and most importantly, take your finger, point your thumb at yourself. And I think it's time that we need to start looking at ourselves, where we fall, where we are weak, and remembering that it is God who redeems and restores everyone, and it is ultimately God who redeems and restores our country. Thank you for coming to my Faith TED Talk. Love you. Bye.